Welcome to Volunteer for Israel's education program, episode 115, a joint collaboration with Julia Newman, our wizard in Israel. Today we have several continents represented. I can see Israel, I can see Japan, probably some Europe, and undoubtedly some Canadians and a bunch of Americans. Thank you all for joining us today. Alana, do you have something you want to add?
I have nothing to add other than feel free to stick around afterwards. We hold a schmooze where you can share anything you'd like. But enjoy the program, and if you'd like to see the program later in a few days, it should be found on our YouTube account and at an index that we have online, and I will put that link in the chat.
Great, thank you, Alana. Hello, Julia. Ma nishma.
Beseder. Hi, Steve. Hi, Lana and Pam and everybody. And once again, it's so good to see you all. In a minute, I will start talking about Tiberias. And just before I start talking about Tiberias, I would like to say that next week we have an amazing speaker, an amazing topic. Something I'm personally looking forward to because somehow I never been there myself. So we will be virtually visiting an archaeological site called Moza, which is a well-known location on our way to Jerusalem. If you ever drove from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, so just before the final ascent toward Jerusalem, you have a very sharp curve, and that's where Moza is. So there is an interesting Zionistic story to it, but the presentation next week will be made by one of the archaeologists, actually the archaeologist who was in charge of the excavation in the Shua. She will be sharing her finds with us. She will be talking about a village and a temple, a definitely Jewish temple, which was uncovered there in Moza, just outside of Jerusalem, same time as the first temple in Jerusalem, not far away from the first temple in Jerusalem, same people. And we were not supposed to find a temple outside of the temple in Jerusalem if things were as it is described in the Bible. So that was an amazing find. It was an earth-breaking find in Israeli Jewish archaeology. And she will be talking about this temple and the other finds and the significance of it. So that's something I believe will be amazing. And I just want to make sure that you're all aware of the fact that next week, same time, same place, we will be meeting Shua Kisilevich, and she will take us to Moza. Okay, so that's next week, and today we are going to explore Tiberias. As you can see behind me, I hope you can see the Sea of Galilee, okay, the Lake of Kinneret, and on the other side, this is the boat, obviously artificial, just for decoration, which is located on the Promenade of Tiberias. And here we start. I will start sharing my screen. And yeah. Okay. And you will tell me in a minute if you can see what I see. No, this is not what I need you to see. Here it is. Okay. Yep. Pam, thanks. Okay. So great. Okay. So as you know, I've made my presentation, my virtual tour of Tiberias, the unfamiliar Tiberias. I am Julia Newman, by the way. And this is a pay as you wish tour, meaning that it is free, but payment is appreciated, highly appreciated by this PayPal account. So I decided to name it the unfamiliar Tiberias because I think most people who ever visited Israel, they did visit Tiberias. I mean, this is one of these places which most of us have been, like Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and and the Sea of Galilee. This is pretty basic, but on the other hand, I don't think any of you ever actually toured Tiberias, and this is true for most tourists. That's actually true for most Israelis. And somehow Tiberias is normally believed to be an overnight stop. I mean, you know, there are hotels there is a promenade, there are restaurants, so you stay there. You go to Tiberias. Yeah, of course, I've been to Tiberias. What did you see there? Well, normally I've seen the hotel lobby. Okay, I've seen the beach for the best part. Oh yeah, actually we had a boat ride over the Sea of Galilee. Wow, that's amazing. But have you ever toured Tiberias? And then normally the answer will be no. Okay, so that actually sort of bothers me, and I can see why. I mean, I can understand why most people avoid touring Tiberias, because the maintenance of this place is, well, to be gentle, could be better, right? Yes. Pam, as an Israeli, I guess you will agree that we need some improvement. Tiberias needs some improvement. And here we are sitting comfortably on our sofas or whatever. We will tour Tiberias and we will see no filthy stuff, and you will see how amazing and important the city is. I mean, this is really, really great. Okay, we just need to clean it up. Okay, so just for orientation, just in case you have not yet been to Israel, so this is the map, the Google Earth, of course, map of the Lower Galilee. Here on the left, you can see Haifa. Okay, you can see this is the Carmel Mount. This is the Haifa Bay. At the very northern end of the Haifa Bay, this is Akko. And then we have the Jezreel, the Valley of Jezreel. And then at the lowest part of my screen, actually just a bit outside of my screen, down south, that's where Beit She'an is located. And last week, remember, we've been to Beit She'an. And so this time we will simply drive about half an hour north along the Jordan Valley. And as we drive north along the Jordan Valley, so we will reach the southern end of the Sea of Galilee. Once again, the Sea of Galilee is the English name, so I will be using this one, but we have to keep in mind that it is not a sea, it is a lake. Okay, it is a freshwater lake. This is the one and the only freshwater lake in Israel, and this is the lowest freshwater lake on earth. Did you know that? I mean, we all know that the Dead Sea is the lowest spot, but this is the lowest freshwater lake on earth, right? So we will reach the northern end, and right at this, the southern end of the lake, and right here you can see this orange star. This is an area called Tzemach. And in Tzemach, there is a large open-air shopping mall, and this is where we normally stop for, you know, getting some groceries and ice cream, whatever. So this is a major stop on our way to Tiberias. This is a place, you know, most people know, Tzemach. And then from Tzemach, we can keep driving north, okay? So we will be driving along road number 90, along the west coast of the Sea of Galilee, and then we will reach Tiberias. As you can see on the map, if we keep driving up north, so we will reach Migdal or Magdala with this recently uncovered synagogue from the time when the temple still existed, and then further up north, this is where Capernaum is. And if, on the other hand, we take a right, so we drive along the east coast, and then we will be driving along the footsteps of the Golan. Okay, so the whole area here on the right, these are the Golan Heights. We've been there once, yeah, since pandemic. Okay, so we will take a left and we will drive towards Tiberias, and we will start from the right, from the southern end. But before we actually start touring Tiberias, I want to explain how and why Tiberias is so important. And in order to do that, I need a term, which is, as you can see, the 4 holy cities. Okay, this term was invented back in early 17th century, and the 4 holy cities basically meant the major locations of the Jewish communities at the time, because back then, so 500 years ago, there was a Jewish population in Israel, but it was a very, very small Jewish population, and 99% of these Jews, they could exist only thanks to chalukah. Chalukah means division, dividing, and we're talking about money which was donated by Jewish communities all over the world. Well, not that many Jews in the United States back then, so we're talking about Europe. And the Jews living here in Israel, they wanted to make a point. We are living in the holy cities of the Holy Land, and so that's how this term was invented. So we have these 4 holy cities: Jerusalem and Hebron and Safed and Tiberias. Okay, each city had a major Jewish community, and each city, of course, had a reason why it was holy. Okay, so well, Jerusalem, needless to explain, we all know why Jerusalem is holy. Hebron, why Hebron is holy? Any ideas? Okay, anybody? Hey guys. Okay. Nobody want to say anything? Okay.
Yeah, the patriarchs. Machpelah.
The cave, exactly. The cave of Machpelah. We are talking about the burial site of Sarah and Abraham, and we also talking about, which was also very important, the first city was where King David was actually a king. Okay, he was a king in Hebron before he was a king in Jerusalem. Okay, so that's regarding Hebron, and then we have Safed. Okay, all the history related to Kabbalah. Okay, not getting too deep into it, but here we're talking about Kabbalah. And then the last and final one is Tiberias. So what is so important about Tiberias? Right. So okay, so why Tiberias? We have quite a few reasons. First of all, the most important one is the fact that the Talmud was assembled in Tiberias. Now, actually, we have 2 Talmuds, okay? One Talmud is the so-called Babylonian Talmud, the Talmud which was assembled in Babylonia, present-day Iraq. And the Babylonian Talmud happened to be the more familiar, the most famous. Actually, in most yeshivas, they would study the Babylonian Talmud. But there was another Talmud, which is called the Jerusalem Talmud. And the Jerusalem Talmud is more important it is more important for living in Israel and worship in Israel, because the Israeli Talmud, the Jerusalem Talmud, which was actually assembled in Tiberias, he deals more with things related to Israel, the mitzvot akshurot ba'aretz, the specifics of Jewish worship in the land of Israel. So the Talmud, without which there is no present-day Jerusalem, no present-day Judaism whatsoever, was assembled in Tiberias by the Sanhedrin. So this is the major reason why Tiberias is so important. But on top of that, we have quite a few others. Well, you can see that I have a photo of tombs. This is the old cemetery in Tiberias. We have so many tombs of so many great rabbis, and only to mention 3 of them, okay? So we're talking about Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. We will be visiting the tomb soon, and Rabbi Akiva. I guess you are familiar with at least the name. And then Maimonides. Maimonides is the most famous by far, located right in the middle of present-day Tiberias. We're going to visit it later. So 3 greatest rabbis. Again, no Judaism can be imagined without these rabbis. And then the Nikud, okay, was invented in Tiberias. The Nikud is the system of dots and scripts, which is a substitute for vowels. Okay, if you ever studied Hebrew, you know what I'm talking about. If you did not, I will explain it later. For now, just keep in mind that the Nikud was invented in Tiberias. And finally, the Aleppo Codex. The Aleppo Codex, which some of you probably, well, if you have been to Jerusalem and you have been to the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, so there is the Shrine of the Book, this beautiful building with the white dome. So the upper part is dedicated to the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the lower, the underground part, is dedicated to Aleppo Codex. And the Aleppo Codex, before the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, was the oldest existing manuscript of the Tanakh, of the Old Testament. And it was written in Tiberias, of course. It is 1,000 years old. It was written by a Karaite Jew. We mentioned the Karaite a few weeks ago. Anyhow, it is one of the greatest, the most famous, and the most ancient Old Testament we have, except of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So I hope you are convinced that Tiberias is very important, and it's definitely worth visiting. Are you convinced? I hope so. Anyway, and yet, that's what most of us know about Tiberias. Again, hotel, pool, boat ride, and the promenade, which could be nicer, right? Okay, let's see what there is more than that. Okay, let's take a closer look. And again, we are approaching from Beit She'an. We are approaching from Tzemach. We are driving south to north. All right? Okay. So this is the general view, okay? That's what it seems from the Sea of Galilee. Pretty nice. We don't see any details. Let's see how it actually started, okay? The whole thing started with King Herod the Great, right? Quite a few things in Israel start with King Herod the Great, the Temple Mount, Masada, Caesarea, quite a few other things. So we start with King Herod the Great, and for Tiberius, he did nothing because Tiberius did not exist when he was alive. But then he died, right? Okay, King Herod died 4 BCE, and he was inherited by 3 surviving sons. And the land of Israel, okay, let's call it so, was divided between the 3 sons. One of them, Herod Antipas, okay, this guy in the middle, his son, he became the ruler of the northern part of Judea. Today, we would call it the Galilee. It was called the Galilee back then. Herod Antipas, the son of King Herod, he wanted to be very, very nice to the Roman emperor of his times because, you know, without the Roman emperor, he would not be able to be a ruler or anything whatsoever. So the emperor of his times happened to be called Tiberius Caesar Divi Augusti Filius Augustus. Okay, well, that's a bit too long. And therefore, he took Tiberius, what is the first name of the emperor. You can see his marble-made head on the left. This is Tiberius, the Roman emperor, and he built a brand new city named after him. Therefore, Tiberias is named after Tiberius, and Tiberias became the capital of the Galilee, and Herod Antipas moved into Tiberias, of course, and built a beautiful palace for himself. Unfortunately, we don't have any ruins whatsoever. We don't even know exactly where it was, but, you know, somewhere in Tiberias. By the way, Herod Agrippa, his son, was the ruler of the Galilee during the Great Jewish Revolt, and he is the bad guy who invited the Roman soldiers into Caesarea Philippi, which was built by him up north, to celebrate the victory against the Jews. Okay, that's another story. So we have Tiberias. Tiberias was created in the beginning of the 1st century AD. And, well, it was not a great success to begin with, but that's something we will discuss later. Okay, to begin with, it was nothing to write home about. We keep driving a bit north, and this was our first stop actually in Tiberias. You can see, once again, you can see the Sea of Galilee. You can see Ramat Korazim right above it. That's the north, like right above the northern end of the Sea of Galilee. You can see the center of modern Tiberias. You can see some hotels, but what you can see even better, or at least what I wanted you to see, are the two domes here. Okay, one is sort of bluish and the other one is sort of whitish. This is a current photo. Okay, that's what it looks like today. Here on the right, you can see what it looked like back in 1894. Okay, black and white, but otherwise it looks more or less the same, right? I mean, no colors, but you can see that one dome is a bit like, I don't know, more angle, like triangle shape, and the other one is totally round. You can tell that this is exactly the same spot. And this is the tomb of Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes, which means Rabbi Meir, Meir is his name, of the miracle. Okay, Nes is a miracle. So this is one of the greatest rabbis of our times, mentioned so many times in the Mishnah and the Talmud, and that's what the compound looks like. Okay, once again, you can see the two domes, and here we are inside. Okay, that's not a photo taken by me. Remember that men and women cannot be together, right? So it did not take this photo, but these are the gentlemen praying at what is believed to be the tomb of Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes, again, one of the greatest rabbis. And he said, here on the left, it said in Hebrew, Eloha de Meir Aneni, which means God of Meir, answer me. This is a phrase Rabbi Meir said when there is a, okay, to make the long story short, his wife's sister was taken by the Roman soldiers and brought into a bordel to become a whore. And the wife of Rabbi Meir, Bruria, she was so miserable, and she was telling, she was chasing Rabbi Meir, telling him, you have to go and save my sister, you have to go and save my sister, it's up to you, you have to do that, because she was not married. And eventually he made it there, and then the guards of the bordel were chasing him, and there were dogs, and then Rabbi Meir called God and said, Eloha de Meir Aneni, God of Meir, answer me. And then it stopped the dogs, and he was saved, and he actually saved the sister of Bruria. So this is one of the stories, just one story about Rabbi Meir. So that's what his tomb looks like. And if you're Orthodox, you definitely want to visit his tomb. Another interesting fact that, again, if you've ever been to Israel, I'm sure somewhere, maybe more than once, you've seen these weird looking, like it can be an inscription, it could be a banner, it could be even a kippah, and it says Nachman Meuman. Have you ever seen that? I'm sure, and sometimes you can see a car with the same inscription, and an old man, young man. Sometimes they will stop in the middle of the road and they will start dancing around it. Okay, all these people, they belong to one of the Jewish, modern Jewish denominations called Breslavim. Okay, they are the followers of Nachman, Rabbi Nachman from Uman in Ukraine, and the whole thing with these weird inscriptions with the Nachman Meuman started with a little note. You can see it on the left here. Okay, that note was found by Israel Odisser. You can see Israel Odisser here on top of the note, of the citadel, as it is called in Yiddish. And Israel Odisser found the note in one of the prayer books on one of the shelves inside the tomb of Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. That's the connection between the Breslavim and Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. Now, on this note, on this citadel, in the seventh sentence, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it says Nachman Meuman, and that's believed to be, I mean, by the followers, that's believed to be sort of a Kabbalistic phrase, because it means nothing, okay, just letters, and eventually you have the nickname of the Rabbi Nachman Meuman. And you know, if you believe, so you will place that sticker wherever you can, the more the better, because that's something which connects you to your spiritual part and to God's blessing. The whole thing started at the Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes tomb. That's sort of a, you know, an open air market, which is right next to the tomb. This is very weird. I mean, people just sit down, you know, have a coffee, buy something, and then they go and pray at the tomb. And here on the right, every year you have the Hilula. This is the last eve of Passover. And people gather like hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people. I mean, what you see here in front of the tomb, it looks like little white and black dots. These are actually heads of the Orthodox men gathered together, because this is the day dedicated to Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. This is totally crazy and nuts, and people are very happy about it. By the way, if you wonder why we have two domes while we have only one rabbi and assumingly one tomb, that's because we have two parts. One is the Ashkenazi and the other one is Sephardi, of course. Okay, you don't pray together. From here, we keep driving north. This is what Tiberias presumably looked like in the Byzantine period, in the times of the Talmud. The Talmud was assembled in 400 AD. So this part, the Roman, the Byzantine, the Talmud period of Tiberias, is a bit south from present-day Tiberias. So the hotels, which were not yet built when the Talmud was assembled, would be a bit north. You see maybe in this bay somewhere. This is sort of an open area with many thorns and bushes today. That's what it looks like. Okay, that's what the area where the Talmud was assembled looks like today. Everything is dry and thorny. You can see here this little white roof. In a minute you will see what is down below, but just before you look at the archaeological site, of course, another photo of these beautiful little white, they look like candles, you know. This is one of the most typical flowers in Israel during autumn, during the fall, and actually that's considered to be the forerunner of the fall. They start blossoming in the end of August when it's so hot, but as soon as you see those, you know that, hey, it's almost over. The sun is almost over. We're about to have the first rains. Again, more photos that just so pretty. It's called Chatzav. The English name is sea squeal. You also have the Latin name here if you wish. And it's just something so Israeli and so beautiful. So now we can take a look at the archaeological excavations. I cannot describe how bad it looks. I mean, it is, it's not maintained. I mean, it's not even, you can do better. Nothing is done about it. I mean, these are amazing archaeological excavations of one of the four holy cities, and yet we still have this disagreement in between the Israeli Antiquities Authority and the municipality of Tiberias, who is supposed to take care of it. And since they cannot decide, so nobody, just nobody takes care of it. And so it's totally neglected. Nobody can get there. just take a look. Down here, you can see this ladder, which I wouldn't dare using it. And of course, tourists are not supposed to use it. But that ladder used to take the archaeologists to the bottom. And this is how deep they got excavating. But actually, this is not the floor. Actually, there's so much more down there. And this is a Roman period bathhouse. And there was a huge mosque from the early Arab period built on top of it. And right next to it, there are the ruins of the Cardinal of Tiberias, and you can see nothing because of the thorns and sea squills. It is such a pity. I mean, I can't even describe. And there were so many plans about, developing the site and making it a major attraction, and nothing happened. Okay, so that's Noam being frustrated and talking to his girlfriend on the cell phone. I can understand. And then we walked just a little bit behind the sea squills, and we found a theater. You see that theater, a typical Roman period theater. And we are also standing, you might recall these black stones. We saw them before. This is the Sanhedrin Trail, the trail which follows the route of the Sanhedrin as it was moving from one location to the other. The Sanhedrin was the chief council, the leading rabbinical institution ever since the temple in Jerusalem ceased to exist. So it was first re-established in Yavne, down south, and then it moved to Usha, and then it moved to Shfar'am and Bet She'arim and Tzipori and other locations. Okay, so a few years ago, a Sanhedrin Trail was established. So we're talking about 120 kilometers, which follow the footsteps of the Sanhedrin, and Sanhedrin slowly moved east until it reached Tiberias, and this is where Sanhedrin ceased to exist again because the Byzantine rulers did not allow it to exist any longer. And since Sanhedrin stayed in Tiberias for the last period of its existence, that's where the Jerusalem Talmud was assembled by the Sanhedrin. So, of course, the theater, and generally speaking, Tiberias, is the end of the Sanhedrin Trail. So this is the Roman period theater, and right next to it, but unfortunately, there is nothing we can see today because it was excavated some 17 years ago, maybe, and everything got... that's where probably the archaeologists believe that's where the basilica used to be, which was probably the residence of the Sanhedrin. So, maybe the Talmud was assembled right next to the theater. More stairs leading down there to the stage, that. And now we keep driving north. And now this is something if you've been to Tiberias, you might have noticed. You see there is a black wall here, and there is the other part of the same black wall on the left. All right. This is the southern end. This is the southern wall, which defined Tiberias in the period of time of this gentleman with a very impressive moustache. And his name is Dahar el-Omar. Dahar el-Omar was a Bedouin, and he was the ruler of the Galilee in the Ottoman period. In other words, the Ottoman Sultan, his residence is in Istanbul. This is way too far, and therefore he needs somebody to represent him. So that representative, at some point, was Dahar el-Omar. We are talking about the 18th century. And Dahar el-Omar, his residence was in Akko, but he wanted to develop his land, and he was looking for loyal citizens, and he thought that maybe his loyal citizens will be the Jews, because he realized that the Jews will be happy to resettle the Holy Land and resettle Tiberias. So he built these walls. Okay, we have only some little fraction of these walls, but in order to help us understand where these walls were and how little, tiny little was Tiberias at the time, I don't think you can see here on the road. If you look very carefully, you might be able to see that there is something wrong with the asphalt here. Okay. Well, if you could see, great. If you could not, so that's where it is. And we had remains of the wall, but then we wanted to have a road, so they just left, some stones on the road. And so when you drive into this part of Tiberias, so it's like a bumper, the car jumps for a sec and then you just keep driving. So these are the walls. This is the southern end. And if we pass the wall and we take a left, so then we go towards a hotel, quite a fancy, well, it used to be fancy, actually. It was built to be very fancy hotel called Donna Grazia Hotel. I'm not sure if any of you ever been to this hotel. Anyhow, the idea is it is dedicated to one of the most amazing women of all times, I would say. Okay, she deserves a separate presentation, but I will only say that Donna Grazia, she was Jewish. She was born in Portugal, but her parents were converted to Christianity because, it was either converting to Christianity or exile for the Jews back then. So it was true for Spain, of course. And they decided to convert to Christianity. So she was born as a Christian, but she was secretly Jewish. Later, she went back to official Judaism, but that's the whole new presentation. Anyhow, her dream was to bring Jews back to the Holy Land and specifically to Tiberias. So she, being the richest widow in the world at her time, okay, being the richest widow of her times, she applied to the Ottoman Sultan and she asked him to let her bring the Jews back to Israel and specifically to Tiberias. And guess what? He said, okay, if you pay enough. And she said, okay, no worries. But the Jews were not ready to go. So we actually maybe missed an opportunity to have a state of Israel, which would be about 500 years old instead of the 73. It never happened, and she died young. And a few years ago, a hotel dedicated to her was built in Tiberias. This is what the hotel looks like from inside. It's really beautiful. Unfortunately, again, it's not well enough maintained, but what you can do here, you can either stay overnight or you can get dressed like noblemen of the times of Donna Grazia. So actually you pay some money and they have all, variety of costumes, and you can get dressed like rich people 500 years ago would get dressed. And then they tell you the story of Donna Grazia. So that's pretty interesting. She is an amazing, she does deserve a presentation. Anyhow, Donna Grazia, just keep this name in mind. She could have become Herzl. It did not happen. So we keep driving another 2 minutes. Leonardo Plaza, one of the best known hotels near the Promenade. Maybe you even stay there. Right next to it, you see, this is the same hotel, but from the other side. And this is the Archaeological Park of Tiberias. You see this red metal thing, okay, sort of a metal frame, I would say, that was placed in order to help us understand where the synagogue used to be. So there used to be a synagogue here back in the 5th century. Not that many ruins, some more ruins. You see the same shape of that synagogue I've just mentioned. We see a sarcophagus. We see the doors of a cave which was used as a burial site in 4th, 5th centuries AD. Amazing archaeology. We don't see that much. Okay, let's get to the promenade. So these are the parallel, one of the little parallel streets leading towards the promenade. And just before we make it to the promenade, here on the right, you see there is a gate, which is normally closed, but we were fortunate enough today, so it was open. So we walked in, and here we are inside a little beautiful courtyard of a Greek Orthodox monastery. So, you know, in the middle of the holy city of Tiberias, we have a functioning monastery, and the gate was open because a wedding was about to take place there. A wedding between a Arab-speaking Greek Orthodox by their faith couple. So that was really neat. And yeah, we made it to the promenade, and you can see this tower, the famous inclined tower of Tiberias. It is not so much inclined, but yeah, just a little bit, right? Can you see that it is inclined? Right next to the Tiberias Rowing Club. This is part of the same wall built by Dahar el-Omar we saw before. So the rowing club is also responsible for these rowing expeditions. You don't see that we're talking about women only. You will believe me, these are women, and the reason why they're dressed in pink is because they have special activities, they have special expeditions in order to raise awareness to breast cancer, and you know, the color of the breast cancer is pink, so that's how they actually sail along the coast, and you cannot ignore them. So that's supposed to you know, keep you think about it. And well, this is obviously the shape of the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee is behind me, and the Golan Heights. And here on the left, we have numbers, and these numbers indicate the level of the Sea of Galilee. The higher the level is, the better we are. And so one of the journalists called it the national mood measurement, and that's true. I mean, it actually measures the level of the Sea of Galilee, but it also, the higher the level, the happier the nation is. It just works that way. We keep walking along the promenade. We see some boats and an abandoned minaret and the Eretz Chaim, the Abulafia synagogue. When Dahar, here on the right, by the way, you can see the signature of Abulafia, Chaim Abulafia. Rabbi Chaim Abulafia was approached by the Bedouin we saw before, Dahar el-Omar. You know, Dahar el-Omar, the ruler of the Galilee, he wanted to bring Jews in, but he realized that he needs somebody to talk to. He needs a figure which will be followed by the Jews, right? So he approached Abulafia, and Rabbi Abulafia said, yes, we are coming. And that was the beginning of the resettling Tiberias by the Jews after so many years. What I mean, that the Talmud was assembled in 400 AD, and then Tiberias was almost abandoned by the Jews. And then 1740, the Jews come back following Rabbi Abulafia. So this is the synagogue named after him.
He didn't get the final part or the final point exactly.
Okay, that's it, Ilana. Thank you.
Please remain muted, everyone.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the synagogue, which was built by Rabbi Chaim Abulafia. It was restored quite a few times, but this is considered to be the oldest working synagogue in Tiberias, right next to the fallen soldiers memorial. That's what the synagogue looks like inside, with a beautiful bima yeah, it was closed when we came, so I needed a photo from the Google. So thank you, Dr. Google. And right next to the synagogue, I mean, you know, all I'm showing you now is within, I don't know, 40 steps. Okay, that's it. So within 40 steps from the synagogue and the Fallen Soldiers Memorial, we have this. You can see, once again, you can see Noam, my son. Something is wrong with the mute thing today. So Noam is sitting on the very few remains of a huge major gate, which used to lead to the great Crusaders fortress. Okay, unfortunately, we have nothing to see, nothing remained from the fortress, but you can see the gate. He is actually sitting on the stairs, which used to be the wall. So, well, and use your imagination. We are entering a citadel, the major Crusader citadel, because Tiberias was the capital of the Galilee in the Crusader period. And the famous battle of Chittim, the battle of Karnei Chittim, which was the end of the first Crusader kingdom when Saladin, the Muslim ruler, won the battle against the Crusaders. That battle actually took place because a princess, a Crusader princess, was besieged in this fortress in Tiberias. So the end of the Crusader kingdom has to do with this spot. And we can see these basalt-made stones. Okay, these are the stones which used to form the wall of the citadel. And then all of a sudden here at the bottom right corner of the wall, you can see a beautiful white limestone stone, which has nothing to do with the simple black wall, right? So that obviously has to do with the different periods. So this has to do with Roman, maybe Byzantine period, maybe with the same synagogue, which is right next to us. And then the Crusaders just saw, you know, an abandoned beautiful stone and said, huh, very nice stone. Why won't we put it in our wall? Yeah, let's do that. And that's exactly what they did. So now we are walking towards the promenade once again. Okay, another corner. That's the promenade with some restaurants and some Muslim ladies having good time at the promenade. And right next to them, we have some Orthodox gentlemen having good time as well, ignoring each other, you know, typical. And both the Muslims and the Orthodox, and they are standing right next to the working church, Catholic Church of St. Peter, and an abandoned mosque as well. These are the Cats of Tiberius. Okay, we always try to find cats. We found quite a few. That was easy. You see, this is Noah working on a photo, and I'm taking a photo. And these are Ilana's special, of course, Ilana's and Nili's special cat. I have to admit that this brown one at the lower right corner is one of the longest cats I ever saw. It was very impressive. And here we are. We made it to the northern end of the promenade, and now you can see that statue, same one you can see behind me. This is just my favorite spot. And that's also as long as we can walk along the promenade. So now we have to take a left. We have no choice. And as we take left, we see these weird things right on the floor. Can you see these? Like dots? 2 dots, 1 dot, 1 dot, and then some other weird looking symbols, and up here as well. So this is the Nikud. Okay, I will I will give you a very simple example, what Nikud is and how complicated it is. And actually, it is more complicated than that. Okay, so we have no vowels in Israel in Hebrew, so we use only the consonants. So, for example, if we would have the same situation in English, so we would write L and V only, okay? And then you have to guess whether the LV means love or leave or leave, okay? Or maybe there are other options I did not think of, okay? But any one of those, love, leave, will be LV so for God's sake, how do you know what is it? The answer is you do not unless you have the whole text. So according to the text, you can tell whether he loves her or he leaves her or, but that's really complicated because that means that you have to know the language before you can read it. Which is true, Pam, right? Okay, you can understand what I'm talking about because you made Aliyah. So at some point, a few hundred years after the destruction of the temple, when the Jewish communities became smaller and spread all over, the rabbis understood that people will not be able, maybe, in a few generations, people will not be able to read Hebrew any longer. And so they invented the Nikud, which is the system of dots and strips, which are the substitute for the vowels. So for instance, if you have one dot, okay, the red thing here on the left, one dot means E, while three dots mean E. Two dots mean E as well. And then we have A and A. And then it gets more and more complicated. Okay? It is incredibly complicated. First grade, second grade kids use the Nikud. By third grade, they are supposed to be able to read without the Nikud. Sometimes it happens, sometimes less so. Okay, but if we are trying to read, if we use Hebrew letters for a foreigner word, so we will not be able to read it. Okay, we keep walking, and right around the corner we have the bank. Okay, the reason why I placed the discount bank here is because it has an ATM right here. This is the ATM. I'm sure quite a few of you use the ATM. I remember myself with BFI plus volunteers using the ATM here. And then we have a memorial for one of the mayors of Tiberias was assassinated during the Great Arab Revolt. And then there is a beautiful graffiti. Here it is, okay, beautiful and colorful graffiti. And we walk through that corridor, and on the other side of the corridor, that's what we see. This is a huge, as you can see, very badly maintained, actually abandoned structure, which used to be the major mosque of Tiberias until 1948. This is the mosque which was built by the Hari Omar, the same guy who brought the first Jews back. And, most people don't even know that this beautiful building is right behind the ATM. So we passed the ATM, and this is the Scots Hotel. I just had to place it here because this is the most expensive hotel in Tiberias, the most beautiful by far. And I wish you all to stay in Scots Hotel. It is Scottish, the ground belongs to the Scottish Church, and that's why the hotel is called so. They also have great bar, so highly recommended. So we pass the hotel straight forward, we take a right, and here. This is Hayarden Street, which was renovated back in 2008. Now, the problem with Tiberias, and this is why it was not attractive to begin with, because where Tiberias is today used to be the huge graveyard of a more ancient town called Hamat Tveria. So wherever you walk in Tiberias, there is a slight chance of having an ancient tomb right underneath. So Hayarden Street is right next to the Tomb of Maimonides. And since this is a major pilgrimage site for the Orthodox, when the street was renovated, they required to place a very special construction, okay? These are very special concrete-made platforms, okay? We have the whole engineering plan. It says Halal Kohanim, the compound of the priests, okay? So the Kohanim must be pure, who must be really beware of tombs, you know, so they will be able to walk towards the Tomb of Maimonides without actually walking into it. So they place special concrete plates down below, so impurity will be able, you know, it will stay down below, and then there's also special openings for the impurity to get out. It was an incredible, very, very expensive engineering project, but that's because a major part of the population in Tiberias, they're Orthodox. And here we are at the tomb of Maimonides and quite a few other great rabbis. This is what the metal structure above the tomb looks like. It used to be red, and then it looked like a flame, and then it was replaced by the white color. So now it is called the crown of Maimonides. And of course, he's one of the greatest rabbis ever, a philosopher, a physician, a theologist. He is named the Great Eagle. So we are entering his tomb. That's what the tomb looks like. And that's what it looked like about 100 years ago. I mean, you see, this is down below here. This is what the Tomb of Maimonides looked like a bit over 100 years ago, surrounded by fields. Today, it's right in the middle of Tiberias, right next to the central bus station. So I guess most of us are familiar with the name Maimonides. He wrote books of philosophy. He wrote a explanation, I don't know what's the right term, but he wrote an explanation, a perush to the Tanakh, to the Old Testament, and he called it Mishneh Torah, the second to the Torah. Quite a few rabbis were against the name, and since he was a physician, so one of the biggest hospitals in Israel, the hospital in Haifa, is called the Rambam Hospital. And he was into herbal medicine. So we have a whole school of Maimonides medicine using medicine plants. And this is a photo taken at Machane Yehuda Market, where Ish HaEtrogim, the man of the etrogs, he's making all sorts of juices, really good juices from different plants and herbs and fruits according to the herbal medicine of Maimonides. So, you know, wherever you go in Israel, you will be affected in this or other way by this great sages of antiquity. And his tomb, again, is in Tiberias. And then we also have the tombs of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was the spiritual leader of the Bar Kokhba revolt. And Rabbi Chaim Luzzatto, Haramchal, great rabbi in Akko, virtually and in reality, maybe you have visited the synagogue where he prayed. Great philosopher of the medieval times. And finally, this is the least known tomb, and I think this is a pity. This is the tomb of the four mothers, but it's not the four mothers we normally talk about. These are the other four mothers, Yocheved and Miriam and Tzipora and Elisheva. from the Torah. What is interesting, the four mothers, the tomb of the four mothers, and the names of the four mothers in yellow, they are described by Jewish travelers, Jewish scholars, starting from early 13th century. But in the last 200 years or so, we have an additional tradition which added a few more mothers. Okay, you see Zilpah and Bilhah and Huldah and Abigail and even Esther. How come Esther is buried in Tiberias? Who knows? But that's not the point. What is interesting, do you know who Zilpah and Bilhah are? Well, most Jews do not. So I just want to tell you that Zilpah and Bilhah were the maids of Leah and Rachel, and both of them had two sons. Each one of them had two sons, and these 4 sons in total, they are the 4 out of 12 sons of Jacob, who were the founders of the 4 tribes. In other words, these women are forgotten. I mean, they were written out of history just because they were mistresses, but they were the mothers. They are forgotten because we all remember Rachel and Leah and Jacob, and I think that's unfair. So I'm not sure their tomb is actually here in Tiberias, but at least they have a traditional tomb and they definitely deserve it. So this is the tomb of the 4 mothers, and that's located in the upper part of modern Tiberias. So thank you for joining me. That was the tour of Tiberias. I hope you are convinced that Tiberias has much to offer, and yet the best to do in Tiberias is just look at the landscape, swim in the lake, and take a boat ride if it is too cold to swim. But there is more to it. So once again, thank you for coming, and payment is appreciated. And that's it.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Julia.
Okay.
We have some questions and comments.
Yeah, of course.
As usual, you know how it goes. Would you like me to look for them, or do you want to look for them?
Okay. So since people are leaving, as always, so thank you all for coming. Once again, just a reminder that next week we have this presentation about the archaeological site, the very surprising archaeological site in Mosa. So please join us. Okay, so let's see what do we have on chat. Okay, I'm getting to the top. Okay. The Tomb of Maimonides, right, exactly. Tomb of the Patriarch. Rabbi, yeah, okay. Aleppo Codex, right. Aleppo Codex, circa 1000, right. That's exactly what I said. Kevin, 96 and disabled, right. Not so much. I have a question, which is a direct message, but I believe it's okay to read it. Phyllis wrote that when I was at the tomb of Rabbi Meir Balanes more than 50 years ago, there were many sick and disabled people sitting or, waiting for a miracle. Is it still the case? No, not really. I mean, people still come there, people still pray, people still believe that he can help them, but you don't see people, like disabled people just sitting there waiting for divine assistance. No. Okay. I don't see. Vivian wrote, I have been to Dona Gracia Hotel and saw the exhibits. Very interesting. Yes. Okay. We stayed at a resort on the southwest corner of the Kinneret. Don't remember the name. Wow. The southwest corner of the Kinneret. I'm not sure.
In Gev.
I think Gev. Okay, that's right. That's southeast actually, and Gev is a kibbutz on the southeast side of the Sea of Galilee. So maybe. Okay, the horns of Hittin are outside of Tiberias. Right, that's outside of Tiberias, and this is where this crucial battle took place. Okay, stayed at the Scots Hotel years ago. Oh, Alvin, good for you. Did you enjoy it? I hope so.
We enjoyed it, yes. When you had the breakfast buffet had pork, so that was a bit different.
Okay.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, okay. What's the price per night at the Scots Hotel? Okay, well, it depends, on the season and whether we're talking about weekend or not weekend. But if we're talking about not weekend, low season, which is today, so that's approximately 1,600 shekels per night per room, which is around 450.
400 or 500.
Yeah, it's around $450. Weekend that will be 2,400 shekels. So whatever, but that's low season.
Ilana, it's showing its age a little bit. The hotel.
Oh,
are you talking to me or to Julia?
I'm sorry, Julia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's showing its age, and my cousin was born there. It was.
That was a delivery room. Okay, that's right. I didn't want to get into it, but it actually has an amazing story. It was everything. It was a delivery room, and it was a kindergarten. It was a school. It was a college. It was a hotel. It was it's an amazing building. Again, the whole different story. Steve asked, when and how did Maimonides end up in Tiberias? Okay, so that's a good question. Maimonides actually maybe never made it to Tiberias. He definitely did not die in Tiberias. He died in Fustat, which is present-day Cairo. But about 50 years only after he passed away, we have a description by travelers that they have visited the tomb of Maimonides in Tiberias. Okay, and then we have a legend. Okay, but this a legend is as ancient as the tomb of Tiberius of Maimonides in Tiberias. About so the story goes like that. Maimonides' will was to be buried in the land of Israel and not in Cairo. But he did pass away in Cairo, and so they placed the coffin on a camel, and they simply set the camel free. So the poor camel started walking, and he basically walked all the way till Tiberias, and then when he reached Tiberias, he stopped. Now the camel was followed by some disciples of Maimonides, and so when the camel finally stopped, they understood that this is where Maimonides would like to be buried. So they buried the coffin in Tiberias. So this is the legend. Again, you can believe it or not, but it is very interesting that we know about the tomb of Maimonides almost immediately after he died. So maybe it did happen. Yes. Okay. What else? Where may one obtain this Maimonides medicinal herbology text? Well, I'm pretty sure you can order it. Just Google it. You know, you can buy it in Israel, but I'm pretty sure you can buy it online as well. Miriam doesn't have any progeny mentioned in the Tanakh. Well, that's true. So what? She does not deserve a tomb? I mean, yeah, Gail, you are right. She maybe had no offspring, but she died. Okay, Ilana, Harry. Okay. So Harry tells us another legend about what happened to Maimonides. Okay, right. Okay, Seth, bringing back many memories. You're so welcome. You are part of some of my memories. Okay. Sharon asks, is the Tomb of the Mothers especially visited by women to ask for help or to pray? This is a good question. I'm not sure. I haven't been there often enough myself. So I'm not sure. Anyhow, it's not a very popular site. It is not very often visited because I don't know why. Something in psychology maybe, but people feel that the rabbis, you know, the men, they are stronger protectors. They are stronger intermediates maybe, and somehow people mostly pray at tombs of men rather than women. If we're talking about the tomb of Rachel, so that's definitely true. We have much more women praying at the tomb of Rachel rather than men. But I don't know how about the tomb of the four mothers. And anyhow, I mean, it's not so popular. Why is the state of Israel building the special walkway for the priests to the tomb of the Rambam? Did Kohanim avoid visiting his tomb for the last 1,000 years? Yes, that's definitely so. I mean, the thing is that the Kohanim are supposed to avoid cemeteries, and they should even avoid, I mean, it's even more complicated than that. You know, everything in Judaism can be complicated if you're Orthodox. So suppose, okay, it goes like that. Suppose you have a graveyard, okay? So that's off limits for the Kohanim for sure. But now imagine that you have a tree which grows in the graveyard, but right on the edge, and then some of the branches, they go beyond the fence and they cover the walkway. So can the Kohanim walk below the branch which belongs to a tree which is located in the graveyard? Okay, you see how complicated it is? So the answer is no. If you are a Kohen, you are not supposed to enjoy the shade of the tree from a courtyard, even though if you are not in the graveyard itself. Okay, the bottom line is that the Kohanim would never go to the tomb of Rambam because the Maimonides, because they're Kohanim, but they want to be as close as possible beyond the fence. But then in Tiberias, things are more complicated because, as I said, Tiberias used to be a graveyard of Hamat, the other town. So they want to make sure that they will not violate any rule, and so they demanded to have this very special road for them to walk on, getting close to the tomb. Okay, Alvin. Okay.
I don't see any more.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Reading what I wrote, Julia, that we visited there because my father knew a lady there.
I saw it. I just didn't want to read it aloud. Yeah, I saw it.
It's very interesting. I think they were one of the first kibbutz, I guess, in Israel. Degania
Yeah.
A, I guess was, Aleph
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
And I remember
that's-
seeing there were no tank, the Syrian tank that was stopped.
Right.
Tank
Yeah.
is still there?
Of course, the tank is at the entrance to Dgania Aleph, not
Okay.
Dgania Bet. But yeah, it's not far away. Right.
So if anyone has any questions and they want to unmute themselves, you're welcome to at this point.
Julia,
Yeah. Hi.
hi. There's a connection between Sephora or Tzipora and the battle that occurred at Hattin. It's linked to Tiberias. Are you familiar with that?
The connection between Tzipora and the Battle of Hattin?
Yeah, the on the highway from Haifa to Tveria.
Wait, are you talking about the lady, or you're talking about a place?
The place.
Oh, the place Tzipori. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
Tzipora.
Right,
Sorry.
yeah. It's not far away. Sure. We actually had a virtual tour of Tzipori the other day. Yeah, and it's right on your way. As you said, if you drive from Haifa, or generally speaking from west towards Tiberias, so you will see Tzipori on your right hand side, and then you will see the horns of Hittim, which is a volcano, a dead volcano on your left. Right. And then you drive downhill to Tiberias. Exactly. Okay. Well, if you have no further questions, so
Tell us something of Hamat Gader. It's in the area.
oh wow, Hamad Gader is one of my favorite spots. Okay, as I keep saying, it deserves a separate presentation, but the Hamad Gader is a beautiful place with hot springs. Some of you might have been there. It is natural thermomineral hot springs, which were first found, described, and developed in the early Roman period. And they built some beautiful bathhouses, beautiful pools, beautiful fountains. They made it so beautiful that it was considered to be second prettiest after the mineral pools in Napoli. And then it was abandoned, and then it became the thermomineral springs are still there. So then the Syrians used it. There was a military base. It has to do with Eli Cohen, and today we have just modern thermomineral resort, beautiful lighting. Right, it's located in the creek of the Yarmouk River, right between Israel and Jordan, like right on the border. It's an amazing, beautiful thing. And the ruins, the beautiful ruins, are actually off limits. So you have to get through the bush and fences and stuff. And then you're right on the border with Jordan. And then you can see these amazing ruins. It needs another presentation. Anyhow, it's a great place.
Did you climb up the observation hill? Used to be IDF guard post there. Did you view from that hill on top?
Yeah. And then you still have this great Syrian mosque there.
Yeah.
And it used to be a beautiful Byzantine period synagogue there. And there used to be a crocodile farm there as well. So, the crocodiles and the alligators, they love hot water. So they had their own part of the hot water area, and they had a hot water pool. And there was a little, like a little zoo and a parrot display. And today everything is shut down. I mean, it does not exist.
What's the name of this place you're talking about?
It's called Hamat Gader, the heart of Gadara. Gadara is an archaeological site in Jordan. So Hamat Gadir. Yeah, it's an amazing place. I've been there at least once with VFI Plus. Highly recommended, wintertime, of course. And that's located like from Tzemach, from the southern end of the Sea of Galilee. You have to take a right. You drive east for 15 minutes maybe, and that's where it is. Okay, this is as far east as you can go, because further on, that's the border. That's it. And
So what about hot springs in Tiberias?
Well, yeah, there are hot springs in Tiberias. They are not so pretty. They're nothing to write home about. But yeah, I mean, no, frankly, I mean, it is a hot bath. Okay, inside a building, and that's it. Okay, but right across the road from the hot springs in Tiberias. Okay, first of all, the hot springs in Tiberias, they're not truly in Tiberias. Okay, they are called in Tiberias, but actually they are outside. They are south of Tiberias, and then right across the road from these hot springs, there used to be a town which was called Hamat. And this is the ancient town mentioned in the Bible, and the tombs of Hamat were towards the north, and these are the tombs which pollute sort of Tiberias. So today we have a national park of Hamat, and Hamat, again, it means hot, Cham, okay, hot. So that was an amazing ancient town which enjoyed the hot springs, and they had hot meal for Shabbat because they could put the pots in the boiling water of the hot springs. I mean, this is and they have an amazing synagogue, Byzantine period synagogue. So when we will be visiting ancient synagogues, that's one of those we must visit in Hamat. Okay, so that was a long answer. I was excited about the hot springs. Okay, well, I think that's it. Thank you.
Julia, can you just say the name one more time about the place that was by the border of Jordan that you were just talking about?
Hamat, Hamat. Okay, and the second word is Gader, Gader.
Just driving there is an adventure.
Why an adventure?
Well, you're right on the old border. You see fences here. You're right against the border with Jordan. And if you drive down from Golan Heights, that's really some drive down the Serpentine Road.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Oh, Gail, you visited the alligator crocodile farm. Okay. Oh, okay, with a naked tour. Okay, and separated by gender hot spring baths? Really? Okay, do you mean where?
Well, the baths were beautiful. You went in and there was all women in the hot baths. Very, very beautiful. And it was like being in a Turkish bath. It was very, stone and everything else, and fun. And the crocodile place was amazing. I didn't realize crocodiles grew to that size. They were really kind of scary creatures, almost like dinosaurs.
Right. But are you talking about Hamat Gader?
I'm sure I was, because that was a quick little visit on up of this Egged tour. Mm-hmm. When I was first volunteering with Volunteers for Israel, I took Egged tours on the weekends. They were really cheap all the time. And so I don't know of any other crocodile farms with hot springs other than this one. Yeah. It's the only time I ever visited. So yeah. I've never been able to find it ever since. So now it's kind of fun to have the name of it.
Okay. So, well, yeah, definitely. This is the only crocodile farm, and which is combined with hot springs. But I'm not sure how long ago that was, because now, now there are no crocodiles that's it. I mean, the COVID killed the crocodile farm, but for many years now, the crocodiles were like behind a fence. You did not walk above them, and you did not get any close to them. So maybe that was just long ago. In the safari, you can walk over the crocodiles. That's true. And yes, they are huge. They're very impressive. They don't move that fast, but they're very big.
Julia, it is 10:30 at night for Julia. I want to let her go to sleep. Thank you for humoring us and answering all of our questions and for the amazing presentation. As usual, we can't wait to see you hopefully sooner rather than later, given.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you all. I mean, really, you're so much part of my life. And it's 10:30, which means that within half an hour, that will be 11. And the reason why this is important is because Noam, you all know Noam, he will be drafted Sunday, okay?
Oh,
he will, yeah, I don't believe it, but yes, he will start his notice service Sunday, and tonight he's having a little party for friends just before the military service starts, and part of it, like the traditional part of such a party before one joins the army, is cutting his hair off. Noam has long hair. And he's going to have his first haircut in years, in half an hour. Okay, that's scheduled for 11 p.m. Israeli time, and I'm invited to the ceremony. I told him that I'm not sure I want to see it, but well, I will. So
take a picture.
Yeah,
take a picture and show us next week.
Our video.
I will. You all know him from
Before and after.
And. Yeah, that's just me starting from now. No, I will not cry. It's okay.
Go have fun with him. Tell him we all say b'hatzlacha.
Definitely.
Okay, I will.
All right. So we'll see you next.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good night, everybody, and hope to see you soon.
Good luck, Julia. Good luck to Noam.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thumbs up from Reba.
Hey.
All right. Let's see. We still have 41 people.
Wow.
Almost want to talk to us. Oh.